Hello, everybody. I'm Nandini Krishnamurthi. I thought of sharing the recording of the topic recall procedure, which I had held last week, Wednesday, on Zoom. Hope you enjoy it. Let me introduce myself. I have been associated with the healthcare industry, mostly CSSD, for over 40 years. I have done the ESHAM course on CSSD supervisory, which is accepted all over the world in every hospital. I have worked in Jaslok, Hinduja, Fortis, and Gangaram hospitals, among others, during my long tenure. You might have guessed by now, I have a passion for teaching, training, and education in the field of CSSD. I founded a body called ISHA in 2013, which is an all India body for CSSD personnel, as well as for others who are interested in CSSD, like surgeons, administrators, microbiologists, nurses, and others. I also founded the body HSSA way back in the year 2000, which is confined mainly to Maharashtra. As I said before, I'm holding webinars on every Wednesday at 3 p.m. with a fresh new topic each time. Okay. And I will share the link on WhatsApp, Facebook, and LinkedIn 2 days or more before the event. I also happen to write a textbook because I got many questions on CSSD. So all these frequently asked questions I have put in the textbook, and I have also made it as per evidence-based guidelines. Okay. I have also designed a certificate course in CSSD, which I think is really required. So to introduce the topic of recall, sterilization is a complex process. We have to monitor it extensively. Okay, to monitor this process, we normally use chemical indicators, biological indicators, and physical monitors. What are physical monitors? The gauges, the graphs, the printouts that we use are called as physical monitors. And they check if the parameters for sterilization have been met. That means correct time, correct temperature, correct quality of stream. And then we can release the load based on these. Okay. But in case something goes wrong, the healthcare facility should be able to retrieve. Retrieve means call back the devices whose sterility may be questionable or which they are doubting. There should be a process for receiving or calling back items, and everything that is received callback should be documented. Okay, especially if it's a failed load. What is the meaning of recall? It is simple. Re means again, call means back. So recall means calling back. The process of gathering or collecting medical devices which are sterilized in a load that had a failure of one or more of the parameters is a failed load, and the gathering is called a recall. Okay, they need to be returned for reprocessing. If devices have already been distributed to user areas, then a recall procedure has to be initiated or started. When can failures be detected? They can be detected prior to, that is before the load's release. This is a better option. You don't have to recall the items then. Sometimes they are detected after the load is released. Okay, it may be missed at release or not interpreted properly, or detected after the load has gone to the user department. So this is failure after release. So before the load is released, it is better to check the load then. How do you check the load? The result of all load monitoring, which is visible up to that point. For example, external indicators, chemical indicators, whether the uh, pack is intact. Also, all the gauges, graphs and printouts can be checked by a trained and qualified technician so that errors can be caught at this point itself. The printout must demonstrate that the critical parameters of sterilization were met. If any of these parameters fail, then a sterilization failure has occurred. Okay, so all passing results are required from graphs, printout, and visible chemical indicators. So detection before issue, how it takes place. This type of failure is due to operator, that is the technician error, and this is detectable, as we said, before releasing the load. And these include defective or incorrect use of BI or CI, incorrect packaging for the cycle. The packaging may be torn or wrongly packed, incorrect loading of the sterilizer, or choosing the wrong cycle for the content. For example, you may choose an instrument cycle when you have put linen in the load. Okay, so all these can be detected before issue. Also, we have to check there are no stains, tears, or the packet is not wet, sorry, before we issue it. After the load is issued, how do we detect that it has failed? That is mostly positive results from test BIs. Whenever the results of the BI are obtained. Now, this could be even after a couple of days and the load has already been released. Okay. The second reason after release is that the user may complain that there was one chemical indicator internally. When they opened the pack, they found that it had not passed. So these are the instances when you detect the failure after the load has gone to the wards or OT or any other user department. Okay. This could be because there was not enough temperature in the sterilizer. There was not enough vacuum, leading to poor air removal. And no, that's why the steam could not penetrate, or utility malfunctions. That means the water or the electricity or the steam was not proper to the sterilizer. That is called as utility. So let us describe the recall procedure in detail. The recall procedure should be always written down in your protocols, in your manual. Okay? It should say what are the circumstances when you give the recall order. Okay? So in this and this circumstance, you can give a recall order. And it should say who is a person who can give the recall order. The head of the department or the person whom the department reports to, or the quality head, or who has to issue the order. Okay. And when you make the protocol, you should involve the infection prevention committee or the quality control committee or the risk management team, whoever is in place in your hospital, involve them so that they also agree with the protocol. And the department head or person should normally decide when a recall should be implemented, head of department. So now we have decided to issue a recall order. What should it include? It should include all the items processed back to the last negative BI. And it should be communicated to all affected departments. Wherever you have issued the material from that load or from that cycle, you have to inform all those departments. Then you have to tell the batch number of the products which are to be recalled. First of all, you have to put a batch number on each and every item issued in the CSSD. Okay? You identify which departments the recall is to be carried out. Okay? And record the products which you get back in the recall and what are their quantities. Later, you have to make a report of the recall. The report of the recall order should identify the reason for the recall order. Why you gave the recall order, what part of the sterilization failed, okay? So you have to note down the reason for the order. Then you have to specify the corrective action taken to prevent a recurrence. So what did you do so that this does not happen again? So what action you have taken, okay? And you have to state in theory how many products are to be recalled. That means all the products which were in that particular cycle. Okay, and you have to also put in the report how many you were actually able to get back. You know, few may not come back. So you have to note in your recall report how many came back. So according to AMI, I hope you all know AMI, Association for the Advancement of Medical Instrumentation. You can Google this by putting these 4 alphabets. You can Google it, find out what AMI is. And they lay down guidelines for steam sterilization for hospitals. So according to them, as soon as you feel there is a failure, you have to begin investigation. Okay, if you see your physical, chemical, or biological indicators have failed, quarantine the load. That means keep it on the side. Don't issue it. Okay, remove the sterilizer from service. Means that sterilizer also cannot be used till you make the full investigation. Investigate the cause. If the cause of the failure is immediately identified, for example, you have used a wrong cycle, okay? Or one item was packed wrongly. It was packed in a container which had no holes. Only that item has failed. Or only that cycle has failed. Then you can correct the cause of the failure and reprocess only that item or that load. Okay? You don't have to stop using the sterilizer. This is very, very important. Very important. So how often you should use BIs? Because if you have a failed BI, you have to recall all previous loads back to the last negative BI. So if you are putting the BI only once a week, for example, on Monday, and you get passed on Tuesday, but next Tuesday you get a failed result. So from last Tuesday to this Tuesday, you will have to recall all the loads which have been issued, all items. Okay? So this is why many CSSDs don't prefer to use the BI weekly. They would like to use it daily or even for every cycle. I would personally highly recommend this. If you do it daily, then you have to recall only 1 day's loads. If you do it every cycle, you have to recall only the load of that particular cell and not several days' loads. Okay? So this next point is very, very important. 85% of sterilization process failures are caused by human error. Only 10% are a result of equipment malfunction. And only 5% relate to utility problems. like central steam or water or air pressure or electrical connections. However, we love to blame the sterilizer without looking at our own department procedures. Training, and training of our people and retraining and taking tests whether they have been trained is very, very important to avoid sterilization failure. I'm just giving you from my experience some common human errors. Okay, one is if the instruments are not cleaned properly, they look clean, but they have invisible dirt which shields and protects the microorganisms. It will not get sterilized in the sterilizer. Okay, if it is not cleaned very, very thoroughly. Second, improper packaging, like wrong type of packaging material. I talked about a box with no holes. It can never become sterile inside. Okay? Or placing too many instruments in a package or wrapping the items in excessive amount of packing wrap. Take a very large wrap like a bed sheet or a draw sheet and pack a small packet. So you will have several layers of packing material outside that pack. So the steam cannot go inside in the holding time selected. Okay, so wrong packing is second. Third, very, very common is overloading the chamber. You are not keeping gaps between the packs for the steam to circulate. Just crowding and crowding the autoclave. Please don't do this. Okay, then the steam cannot come in contact with each and every pack. Then this we said before, inappropriate. That means wrong sterilization time, temperature, or pressure. Okay, by selecting the wrong cycle or that temperature and pressure is not getting reached in the sterilizer. These are the common errors. More common errors. We are not doing the routine maintenance of our sterilizer as recommended by the manufacturer. This will be done by our in-house team of engineers, medical engineers or biomed engineers as we call them. Okay, regularly routine maintenance has to be done. Then sometimes we don't store the sterilized instruments properly. We make them wet or we mishandle them. That also called sterilization failure. Okay, I already said this, but I'm going to say again, insufficiently training and educating staff on the sterilization process. Process means washing, packing, sterilization, and issue. Train, train, and train again. Then miscommunication between the sterile processing departments and other departments in the hospital and not following standard guidelines and protocols. What mistakes we make in the department with our indicators? We don't properly monitor and document the sterilization cycles. We don't track and trace the instruments throughout the process. That means we don't have a batch number. So how can we see where it is issued? We have not written which department is issued what pack. So how will we get it back from that department? So we have to properly track and trace our instruments. Then misinterpretation of monitoring tool. We don't understand whether our indicator has changed color or not. So we misinterpret the answer. Okay. Incorrect selection and use of type 6 emulating indicator. So it should be used only for the cycle which is printed on the indicator. If two cycles are printed, you can use any one of those two cycles. You cannot have a different cycle in your sterilizer and a different one on the indicator and use that type 6. Okay, type 5 can be used for any cycle. Type 6 is called cycle specific. Okay, the incorrect placement of BIPCD in the load. You have a PCD with the biological indicator inside. You're putting on top of one linen pack. On top of that, you're putting another linen pack without any space or shelf. So it becomes like one large pack. Even if your autoclave is working, the steam cannot reach to that indicator jammed in the middle. A lot of mistakes like this we are making. with the indicators. Utility, I told you utility means our water supply, our steam supply, if we have steam from the central steam, okay? It means our electrical supply, it means our air pressure, okay? So first, if you have an electrical irregularity, please check with the hospital maintenance department. Then if you may have less water supply pressure, you may have variations in steam pressure. If it is central steam, because many departments are making demands on that particular boiler, okay, you may have non-condensable gases in the steam line and load. You have to get rid of these. Or there may be other abnormalities, and all these should be reported to the person who performs the sterilizer maintenance. Steam issues can be due to your own hospital, utility, or due to the sterilizer malfunction, either of the two. It all depends. If you have the boiler, which comes with the autoclave, then the sterilizer manufacturer will be responsible. If you are having steam from a central source in your hospital, then your maintenance department or utility will be responsible. In both cases, there can be improper insulation of the steam lines. There can be a malfunction of the trap in the steam line, which removes water, oil, and impurities. Sometimes there is no trap in the steam line. Then you can have a faulty steam control valve or pressure reducer control valve. Then there may be variations in the steam pressure because your filters are clogged. Clogged means jammed. Okay? Then you may have a clogged steam line, or you may have a clogged steam supply strainer. Sterilizer malfunctions. These will be normally checked by your sterilizer manufacturer, just for your general knowledge. Poor steam quantity or quality from the inbuilt boiler. Inadequate, that means less air removal. That means the vacuum is not created properly. Second point. Third point, inadequate cycle temperature. Your sterilizer is not reaching the correct temperature. Fourth one is insufficient holding time at that temperature. That the control timer is not calibrated, so the holding time is less. Some more clogged chamber drain line. Any valve does not work. Third one, leak in the door gasket or any other area of the chamber. Low steam pressure. Malfunction of the drain check valve or no drain check valve. These are only few of the malfunctions. They can easily be fixed by your manufacturer. So what is the protocol for management of a recall? So when you notice a breakdown in the sterilization system, that means you notice a sterilization failure. All packs from that batch are called back from the areas where they have been supplied. Second, you have to find out if it is an operator area in the CSSD, or if it is utility area from your maintenance department, or it is a sterilizer area from your machine. If it is a sterilizer area, take the sterilizer out of service. That means don't use it for the time being. Notify the manufacturer service team or the manufacturer himself, as well as your maintenance department. So after your repairs are over, or you have found out what mistake you have made, then the sterilization failure has to be corrected. The sterilizer again has to be undergo qualification testing. That means it is being repaired according to your manufacturer, but you have to test whether it is repaired properly. Okay? If the sterilizer has more than one type of cycle, the sterilizer is run for 3 consecutive cycles with a BIPCD, but each cycle has to be tested 3 times. each type of cycle, like linen cycle, gravity cycle, pre-vacuum cycle. Each cycle has to be tested. Okay. Then after you complete the cycle, check the physical monitors, gauges, graphs, and printouts. Okay. And if you have put any chemical indicators in the load, please check those also. And if it is a pre-vacuum sterilizer, which is now called as dynamic air removal sterilizer, okay, then you have to do 3 consecutive Bowie and Dick tests also and see that they pass for proper air removal. So I was asked during my lecture, what if the device has already been used by the time you call it back from the ward or any department? If it has already been used, then you have to inform the infection prevention and risk management teams. And you have to also trace which pack is used on which patient. So you will see which patients those packs have been used on, which may have been non-sterile. Okay? That patient will have to be monitored for signs of infection. That means there'll be surveillance of the involved patients initiated, okay, by your ICN or infection control officer. So that's all I wanted to say about the recall procedure. I really hope it helped you.